Does anyone else feel like there's no good entertainment anymore? Like shows don't hit the same, movies don't hit the same, games don't hit the same. But I always wonder if it only feels like this because we're getting older. I don't think that's the case though, because there are still some games that I enjoy playing. Like I love playing Block Blast still.
This game still scratches that itch in my brain. Block Blast makes blocks fun again.
This game is one of the few things I actually still enjoy playing and don't get tired of, because not only is it fun, but it's a really good way to train your brain. And this might be a hot take, but I feel like most of the entertainment that we consume these days literally makes me less smart. Like I never understood what people meant when they used the word brain rot, but I get it now because almost everything on the internet is brain rot. I know this sounds weird, but I've always wished I could just take my brain out of my head and clean it. That sounds like it would fix all my problems.
But since I can't do that, the next best thing I can do is play Block Blast.
You can download Block Blast in the App Store, but good luck beating my high score. I do not care if I get insulted by a man or a woman, but if I get insulted by a kid, I want to cry because they do not lie. If they insult you, they said it because they truly believe it. Like one time I was at the airport just minding my own business, and this little kid comes up to me and says, "Why do you have a pepperoni on your face?" So I pull my phone out to look at myself on the camera and I see nothing there. So I'm like, "What do you mean I have a pepperoni on my face?" And he puts his finger on my forehead and goes, "Right here." And I realized that he's talking about a pimple I had. So I laughed and went, "Oh, that's not a pepperoni, it's a pimple." And he goes, "Oh, that's really big." So I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Where are your parents? Because when an older person insults you, you can fight back. But with a little kid, what am I supposed to say? You can't read? Of course he can't read, he's 4! So now anytime a little kid looks in my general direction, this is what I do. I'm just gonna run away from them every time now. I can't take any more ego hits. If you go to McDonald's and they tell you that the ice cream machine is broken, they are lying, because one time I went and I asked for an ice cream cone, but they were like, "Ooh, sorry, our machine is broken." And I didn't think anything of it because it's always broken. But then I literally saw another worker walk up to the ice cream machine with a cone and they filled it up. So what did I do? I pointed this out to the employee that was taking my order and I was like, it looks like your machine is working just fine. And he just turns around, looks at the employee using the machine, and he goes, "Ah, all right, I'll get you a cone." What do you mean, "ah, all right"? You're acting like you didn't just straight up lie to my face. So to all McDonald's employees out there, why do you guys act like the machine's always broken when it's not? Just give me my ice cream. Never go on an airplane if you have a bad feeling about it, because I just had a flight, but for some reason, I was really anxious to get on the plane, and I never am, so that's weird. But I got on anyway because I had to get back home, and the seats were first come, first serve, so I ended up getting stuck in a middle seat between 2 people. And at first, I thought the people sitting on both sides of me were strangers, but then they started talking to each other, and I realized that they were a couple. Well, Tyler, if they were a couple, why wouldn't they sit next to each other? That's what I was wondering too, so I asked them, I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to sit next to each other?" And they both said no in a pretty nasty tone. So I was like, damn, I get it. Y'all really don't like middle seats. But then I started to understand why they didn't want to sit next to each other as the flight went on. Because the whole time we were in the air, they were just arguing, but I was stuck in the middle of it. I was like a ping pong ball getting bounced in between them, and they were like, "I don't like you. No, I don't like you. You never show affection. You're way too needy." All of what they're saying is just going straight into my ears. It was my worst nightmare because it was a 4-hour flight, so I just wanted to sleep, but I couldn't because they were yelling in my ear. But then like halfway through the flight, I was like, "Are you sure you guys don't want to just sit next to each other?" And at the same time, they both go, "No!" And I'm pretty sure by the end of the flight, they broke up. That's kind of what it sounded like. But yeah, don't do middle seats next to strangers. Having a different taste in significant others than your friend is great, but also horrible at the same time. It's great because you never fight over the same person. Every girl that I've ever liked, I never had to worry about my friend swooping in and stealing her, and he could have because he actually talks to women. But anyways, the reason it's horrible is because whenever I would like a girl, I would tell my friend about it and I would be like, "Bro, I think this girl is my soulmate. She's the prettiest person I've ever seen." And then he would be like, "What do you like so much about her?" And I would just be like, "Well, I like her style, I like her personality, I like her smile." But then he would just say something so absurd back to me. He would be like, "Bro, the girl you like looks like a character from a movie that got bit by a zombie, but is trying to hide it from the rest of the group." Literally a crazy comment like that. And then now every time I'm around this girl, I'm questioning if she's gonna try to bite me and turn me into a zombie too. Like, you just ruined it, man. The people he likes look like their worst fear is vitamin D, but I don't say that to his face. I get it, everyone has their type, but I think we just gotta stop talking about relationships to each other. So if you have a different type than your friend, don't talk to each other about it. Does anyone else's personality change based off who they're hanging out with? Like, I will literally be the type of person that goes from saying, "What's up, gang?" to the type of person that says, "Hello, how are you?" depending on the friend group. But I don't even do this on purpose. I just subconsciously change my personality based on who I'm hanging out with. I'm an introvert with some friends, but if you get me around friend group number 2, I'm the loudest one there. Like, I'm even the group leader, you could say. I'm just kidding. I even have one friend group where I have an accent. Like, they genuinely believe that I have family in Australia or something, and that's why I talk like this. But the scary part is that at this point, I don't even know which personality is my real one. Am I a "what's up, gang" person? Or am I a "hello, how are you" type of person? I don't know. Now that I think about it, this kind of sounds like a disorder. Maybe I should go to the doctor. Why do girls only like you when you don't like them back? Because I used to go to school with this girl that I literally did not know existed until one day she walks up to me at lunch and says, "Hey, can I sit next to you?" So I said, "Sure." But then she started asking me a bunch of questions. So I was like, "Oh, I see what's going on here. She likes me." But I wanted to make it very clear to her that I wasn't interested in her. So every time she would ask me a question, I would just give her a super boring and dry answer. And I thought this would make her stop wanting to talk to me, but it didn't, because every day at lunch, she would sit next to me and ask me a bunch of questions. So after a while, I low-key started to like her because she cared about me. So eventually I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask if she wants to go on a date. So that's what I did. The next day I said, "Hey, would you ever want to go out sometime?" And she was like, "Just us two?" And I was like, "Yeah." So then she said, "Are you asking me out on a date?" And I said, "I think so." And you know what she responded with? She said, "Oh, that's really sweet, but I'm not interested in you like that. You're too boring." She thought I was boring because, like I said, I used to be super dry when I talked to her because I didn't want her to like me. But that's not how I actually am. I was respectfully rejecting you, and now you're rejecting me. All the pride I had left, which was never a lot, it was gone after that. Growing up is crazy because my friend just told me that he got a girl pregnant, and my first reaction was to be like, "Oh my gosh, dude, what are you gonna do?" But when I said that, he looked confused and he was like, "We're gonna raise it?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, I guess you kind of have to, right?" So then he was like, "Why are you saying that like it's a bad thing?" And then I said, "Well, this was obviously a big accident and your parents are probably gonna freak out when you tell them." But he was like, "Dude, no, we've been trying to have a kid for a couple months. We want to start a family and my parents are super excited." And that was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, we're getting to the age where people start to have families on purpose. This is terrifying though, because I'm nowhere near close to starting a family. I still live with my parents, dog. So if anyone wants to start a family with me, just let me know. I'm such a failure. Have you ever met someone that's love language is literally just being mean? Like, the meaner they are, the more they love you. And I didn't know these people existed until I liked this girl one time, but I thought she really didn't like me because every time I would talk to her, she would just be really mean. Like one time I told her that I liked her outfit, and instead of saying thank you, she literally just said that I'm stupid. So at that point I was like, okay, I get the message. I'll stop bothering you. But then when I did that, she got more angry and she was like, why are you avoiding me? I don't know. Maybe it's because you scare me and you seem like you really don't like me. But she just said that was how she shows affection. So on one hand, I was happy. But on the other hand, I was like, I don't know how much more of your affection I can take, dog. But the scariest part about being friends with these people is that when they're actually angry, you can't tell because that's how they always are. It's almost flattering when they're mean to you though, because it's like, come on, you know you like me. But if you actually say that to them, they might hurt you. They are the most rewarding people to be friends with though, hands down. Why are school nurses so bad at their job? Like, there's no way they are actual nurses, because I remember one time at recess, me and a couple other kids were playing on the playground and one kid fell off the bars and his arm bent the wrong way. So you could literally see his bone sticking out of his arm and the kid started screaming. So me and another guy took him to the office. And when we got there, you know what the nurse did? She was like, okay, wait, let me get something for you. And she walks into the room next door and comes back with an ice pack and says, here, use this. What do you mean use this? My guy's bone was sticking out of his arm and you want him to put an ice pack on that? Not every injury can be solved with an ice pack, Gretchen. This man needs to have surgery. Call a real hospital. Doc McStuffins would be doing a better job than you at this point. And I'm sure that not all school nurses were like this, but at least at my school, the nurse would literally give an ice pack for every injury. Oh, you have a headache? Here's an ice pack. Oh, your stomach hurts? Here's an ice pack. Oh, your humerus is sticking out of your arm? Here's an ice pack. Why do old people not get embarrassed about anything? Like, even things that they should get embarrassed about, they don't, because my friend had a grandpa named Jim who lived with him, and the things Jim did without getting embarrassed amazed me. Like, one time we went to go eat and we're at our table and the waitress walks up to us, super nice girl by the way, and she says, hey, how are we all doing tonight? And without even answering the question, Grandpa Jim goes, your breath is horrible, take a mint. And he pulls out a pack of mints out of his pocket. Obviously she declined the mint, but after she went away, Grandpa Jim's daughter was like, Dad, why did you say that? And he goes, because her breath smelled horrible. I mean, yeah, that checks out, I guess. But Grandpa Jim was really old, so sometimes he would just pee his pants, but his family would question whether he did it on accident or on purpose, because when he did it, he would literally have no reaction. Like, you could be staring at him and see his pants just slowly start to get darker, and he would just be unfazed. Honestly though, Grandpa Jim was an inspiration to me because he made me aspire to be as unbothered about life as he was. Still feel bad for that waitress though. Am I the only one that thinks it's insane that every single person on earth has their own lives? Like, if you've ever been in a busy area and you look around, the thought of all those people experiencing their own reality at the exact same time as you is crazy. But this always makes me think, what is everyone spending their time doing? Because in this moment that I'm talking to you, all these other people are living their own lives at the same time. So what are they all doing? If I had to guess what they're doing right now, it's probably playing Block Blast. I say this because Block Blast is such a good way to pass the time. But thinking about the fact that everyone has their own lives brings so much anxiety for no reason because there's so many people. Like there's no way that all of them are actually real. This is why I genuinely believe that some people are NPCs. I mean, at this point, I might be one. I don't know, this stresses me out. Luckily, Block Blast is so good at relieving stress. Block Blast makes blocks fun again. So if you want to relieve all your stress, download Block Blast.
Why do girls never make the first move?
Like the other day, this girl was telling me about how she was super nervous to ask this guy out, and I was like, why? And she said, because I'm scared of getting rejected. And I was like, you do realize that guys will not reject girls, right? Guys are desperate. I mean, the other day, I dropped my wallet on the ground, and this girl simply just picked it up and gave it back to me, and I instantly fell in love with her. Why did I not tell her that? Because she was like 70 years old, but that's besides the point. The point is that guys are not used to getting attention like that, so when we do, we're attached to you like this. Ladies, I am not kidding. The next time you see a man that you're even slightly attracted to in public, ask for his number. This is how the interaction will go. Hey, I thought you were really cute. Do you think I could get your number? Yes. Do you want to marry me? Now, am I saying this because I'm scared to approach women, so I just want them to approach me? That's not important, actually. Never compliment a British person because I just met a British person at a coffee shop and I embarrassed myself so badly because they walked in and we made eye contact with each other. So they smiled and said, what a lovely day out here, innit? But I didn't expect them to have an accent. So when they did, for some reason, my first instinct was to just talk in that exact same accent back to them. So then I was like, indeed, the weather is bloody gorgeous. But since we're in the US, when I said that, they were like, wait, you're British too? And I couldn't admit to them that I was literally just copying their accent or else they would have thought that I was mocking them. So I kept pretending to be British and I said, I am British. But then they said, really? Where are you from? But I panicked because I couldn't think of a city in England. So I was just like, think of a soccer team there. And I was like, I'm from Manchester. But then to my surprise, they were like, no, mate, I'm from Manchester. So I guess I was really trying to sell it, and for some reason I responded by saying, well then maybe we'll have to hit up the pub next time I'm back. And when I said that, he just laughed very Britishly. But I don't know why I did that. Something about British accents just makes me want to talk like them. Did anyone else's parents ever say, you should be more like your friend, without knowing how crazy that friend actually was? Because one time, my mom and I got into a big argument, so she was like, why can't you be more like Dylan? He's so mature and polite. And when she said that, I tried not to laugh because little did she know, Dylan was a real life supervillain. And she saw that I was holding back my laugh after she said that, so she was like, what's so funny? And I said, Mom, if you knew what Dylan does, you would not be saying that. So she replied with, well, what does Dylan do then? And I thought about not telling her because I didn't want to expose Dylan, but I was like, nah, I gotta do it. I gotta protect myself. So I told her that during school, when we were in the locker room, Dylan had a spray deodorant that he would use every day, but he also had a lighter. So he would use these two things to spray flames at people while they were changing in the locker room. Everyone would run away from him because he was throwing these flames at everybody. Like if you saw this guy doing that in public, you would run for cover. But yeah, Mom, I can be more like him if that's what you want. I love my mom though, just want to say that. I hate my birthday for one reason, which is the fact that I know my friend is going to post the most embarrassing picture that could ever possibly be taken of me for the whole internet to see. Like every year when it gets close to my birthday, I get super anxious because I know my friend is gonna post the most horrible picture ever and say, happy birthday, Tyler, love you. No, you don't. If you actually loved me, you wouldn't post a picture of me sneezing with a 0.5 lens on. Like you just ruined my birthday. But the scary thing is that they have a whole folder of pictures like this. Like it's literally titled, Tyler Embarrassing Pics. What kind of FBI agent stuff is that? I don't even remember them taking half of these pictures, yet they have a whole vault of them. So to anyone that posts embarrassing pictures of their friends on their birthday, please stop. We can't take it anymore. Isn't it crazy how girls will give such obvious hints when they like a guy, but we don't even realize it? Like gentlemen, if a girl has ever asked you to open a bottle for her before, there's a reason. You think she actually can't open that bottle? Of course she can. She's just throwing you a layup. But what girls don't realize is that most of us men don't have a thought going on behind our head, so we don't realize this. Like one time a girl told me that she liked my jacket, so I was like, oh, thank you. But then she said, it would probably look better on me though. So in my head, I was like, damn, that's mean. I thought I looked pretty good in the jacket myself. Like they try to make it so obvious that they're flirting, but we just don't get it. But this made me realize that everyone always thinks guys flirt way more than girls. That's not true. Girls flirt a lot. It just goes over our head most of the time. Why is it so much easier to flirt with people you don't like? Because when I'm around my friends, I have so much game. Like I've had friends tell me before that they can't tell if I'm joking or not when I flirt with them because I'm so good at it. But if you get me around a person that I actually like, I'm cooked. I can no longer speak English. I start stuttering, sweating, it's awful. And if somehow I do manage to stop stuttering, I just say something weird like, you have nice earlobes. No, seriously, I've actually said that pickup line before. It didn't work. But what's even worse is when someone flirts with me because I don't know how to react. Girls have flirted with me before and I just start uncomfortably laughing or fart or something like that because my brain just shuts off in these situations. Be honest guys, is it over for me? It's definitely over for me. How can people be in multiple talking stages at the same time? I don't get it, because every time I've ever liked a girl, my whole day revolves around them. But somehow, you're able to handle that with 7 different girls at once? Like, talking stages are full-time jobs. And the funny thing is that I know people that will be like, ugh, it's so hard to keep all these girls entertained at the same time. Bro, no one is asking you to do that. Matter of fact, the girls would probably prefer it if you didn't. But the most crazy part is that if I'm in the talking stage, I'm already in love with the person. I started planning our future together, how many kids we're gonna have, before we even actually start dating. So to do that while talking to other people at the same time, I don't get it. I've also never been in a relationship before, so my opinion is irrelevant. There's not many things in life that can embarrass me, except for the one time when I was in a public bathroom and I had to go number 2 really bad, but I was constipated. So I went to the biggest stall I could find because I knew I was gonna be in there for a while, so I wanted to be really comfortable. But as I'm in the stall using this toilet, I hear someone shake on the door and I say, occupied. But I could hear them breathing, so I know they were still standing right next to the door. So I look under the stall to see their feet, and what do I see? A wheelchair. Right in that moment, it hit me. I was in the only handicapped stall in the bathroom, and this guy had to wait until I wasn't constipated anymore to use it. I didn't know what to do because I knew I wouldn't be done for at least 30 minutes, but I couldn't make this guy in a wheelchair wait that long. So even though I wasn't done, I wiped, clenched my cheeks, opened the door, and then walked like this to the stall next to me. But the guy in the wheelchair made eye contact with me when I opened the door, and he just looked so disappointed in me. I'm sorry, bro. I can't think logically when I'm constipated. It won't happen again, I promise. Old people do not like Gen Z, and I realized this the other day when I was at the gym with my friend, and I just finished my workout, so I literally just said the words, I'm tired. And there was this man on the machine next to me that looked about 70 years old, and he must have heard me saying that because right after I said it, he literally reacted like this. And I just ignored it at first, but then he kept looking at me, so I was finally like, hey, can I help you? And he was like, yeah, you say you're tired? And I was like, yeah. And he said, from what? Sitting down? And he said this because I was sitting on a bench talking to my friend, so then I was just like, yeah, that's why I'm tired. But then he said, you don't know what tired is. Your generation is lazy. Listen, Unc, I do not care. I don't care that you had to climb Mount Everest to get to school every day. I don't care that you had to work 26 hours a day in the coal mines. I do not care. Like, all that stuff is cool, but what do you want? A cookie? You just want to tell me how much more productive you were when you were my age? Cool, but I don't care. But shout out to the old people who aren't like this because I know most of them are nice. This was probably my fault anyway, to be honest. I should just probably stop arguing with old people and kids. You can always tell when someone is rich because they do not act like normal people. Like, there was one rich person I grew up with, and one time we were talking to each other on a Friday, and I was like, do you have any plans for the weekend? And he was like, oh, well, I've really been craving my favorite restaurant lately, so we're probably gonna go there tomorrow. So I said, that's cool. What's the name of the restaurant? And he says, La Sponda. So I was like, I've never heard of that place before. Where's that at? And you know what he says? With a straight face, he looks me in the eyes and says, Italy. We are in the United States having this conversation, by the way. And we also have school on Monday. So I'm like kind of laughing, waiting for him to crack a smile and say that it was a joke. But no, he was serious. This same person has asked me what temperature I like the sauna to be at. And I was like, I don't know, whatever temperature the gym has it as. Because that's the only place I have access to a sauna. And he was confused because he has a sauna in his house. But honestly, I don't think we're too far off from each other. I mean, he might be going to Italy for dinner, but when I go to McDonald's, I don't even have to order off the dollar menu anymore. Gen Z people will literally quit their job over anything because when I was working at a fast food restaurant, we had this new guy one day and he was telling me about how he really needed some money because he was in a lot of debt. So he wanted to work a lot of hours. But he also said this was his first job in the food industry. So one of my coworkers had to teach him how to make fries in the fryer. And then after about 20 minutes of learning, he had it down. So my coworker let him do it on his own. But after about 10 minutes of him doing it on his own, he walks up to the cash register, puts his name tag on the counter, and he says, guys, I quit. So we were like, why? And he said, my face is all greasy for making the fries. I don't want to do this for 8 hours, and I already smell. And then he just walked out the door, and I have never seen him since. When he walked out, me and all my coworkers just looked at each other, and I could tell we were all thinking the exact same thing, which was, damn, he's kind of got a point. He had us thinking about if we should leave too. Sadly, none of us did, but I still think about where that guy's at today. Probably a CEO if I had to guess. To anyone that's ever wondered why girls take so much longer to get ready than guys, I just figured it out. I was just taking a shower and I looked at my shampoo bottle randomly. And that was when I realized that it was a 6-in-1, meaning that it was a shampoo, conditioner, body wash, face wash, deodorizer, and moisturizer, all in one bottle. I'm pretty sure I could use this instead of gas to fill up my car. Like, talk about efficiency. But with girls, they have an insane amount of products. If you ever go into a bathroom that a girl uses, you will see that there's about 700 different bottles in there. Like, I know a girl that literally uses a different product for each eyebrow. How does that work? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that if a girl came over and she saw me using a 6-in-1 shampoo, she would get a restraining order against me. And you may say, how are you not aware of this? My mom buys all my stuff. I don't pay attention to that. I just use it. It is really efficient though. I might try brushing my teeth with it tomorrow.
Is anyone else's friend group literally impossible to make plans with? Like, I genuinely think we're gonna get GTA 6 before my friend group has a day where everyone can hang out. There's always a problem. Tell me why the other day, I asked my friend if they wanted to hang out, and they said they couldn't, but that we should schedule a day in the future too. So I said, okay, what day works for you? And they gave me a date that was in 3 months. Dog, you are unemployed. How are you not available for 3 months? Like, what are you doing that's making you so busy? Climbing Mount Everest? Every time these types of people say they can't hang out, I get the feeling that they're not actually busy and that they just don't want to hang out with me. So they just make up an excuse. If that's the case, just tell me. I can take it. But if somehow plans actually do get made, they always cancel the day of. And they always have the worst excuses why. They'll be like, oh, sorry, I can't go. I have to babysit my nephew. First of all, you don't have a nephew. Second of all, ain't no one letting you babysit a baby. I'm really convinced this just happens because they don't want to hang out. It happens a lot, by the way.
Never give a stranger a compliment, because I was just at the mall and I saw this guy that had a really fancy jacket on and it was red and gold. So I gave him a compliment on the jacket. But after I did this, he gave me a really nasty look and I didn't understand why until I realized what I just said. Because the day before this, I watched the Shrek movie and the jacket that this guy was wearing really made me think of this king's jacket from the movie. So the compliment that I told him was, hey, I really like your jacket. It makes you look like the king from Shrek. But now I know why he gave me a nasty look after saying that, because after he gave me the look, I heard him say, I'm not even that short. So this made me realize that he thought I was saying that he looked like Lord Farquaad from Shrek, because he's the main king in the movie. So that's definitely who this guy thought I was talking about. If you see this, bro, that is not who I was comparing you to. I'm sorry. I just hope he wasn't thinking about what I said for the rest of the day, because if someone told me that I look like Lord Farquaad, I would never leave my house again. Have you ever had a friend that apologizes for literally everything? Like, even when it's not their fault, they're apologizing. Like, my friend is allergic to shellfish, right? So every time we go out to eat, he asks the waiter if the food has shellfish in it. And one time we went to a restaurant and the waiter was like, no, there's no shellfish in our food. But then they brought out our meals and my friend starts eating, but then all of a sudden, he starts coughing really hard and he's not able to breathe. So he gets his EpiPen out and uses it. And the waiter sprints over to our table and they say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just talked to the kitchen and they said that our sauce has shellfish in it. But then my friend was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm so sorry. I was making such a big scene in front of the whole restaurant. Dog, you just got poisoned and you're apologizing for it. I don't get it. But an even crazier situation is that one day, this same friend was riding his bike and he literally got hit by a car because the person was on their phone and not paying attention to the road. Luckily, my friend was okay, but after he got hit, he literally got up, looked at the car and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I left such a big dent in your car. That dent is literally your forehead from when they slammed into you. That is not your fault. But he still apologized, and even the driver was confused. He probably thought that my friend had a brain injury from getting hit.
The difference between male friendships and female friendships is crazy, because one time at school, there was this group of girls that were all best friends, and one of these girls' birthday was coming up. So when that day came, the whole group all posted a bunch of pictures on their stories saying happy birthday, except for one girl. And in fact, this girl didn't even go to school that day. So when she came back the next day, she wasn't hanging out with those girls anymore. And it turns out that the rest of the group stopped being friends with her because she didn't say happy birthday. But you wanna know why she didn't say it? She was camping. She literally didn't have internet access, but I guess that wasn't a good enough excuse because they were not friends after that. This was so crazy to me though, because most of my friends don't even know my birthday. Literally only one of my friends do. And he posts an embarrassing picture of me every time it comes. Honestly, I'm convinced some of my friends don't even know my last name. And I don't blame my friends for not knowing my birthday. I don't know theirs by heart. And I'm not saying that's a good thing either. I respect that girls care so much.
Have you ever asked your mom if you could hang out with friends and she responds with the most ridiculous reason why it's not safe to? Like, I remember one time, I asked my mom if I could go to the beach with some of my friends, and she literally responded by saying, I don't know if it's safe to with the war going on right now. So I thought about it and I was like, what war is she talking about? So I asked her and she said, the one in Russia. Mama, we live in California. I don't think I'm gonna be in danger going to a beach that's 10,000 miles away from where the war is. But my mom watches the news a lot. So there was another time where I said, hey mom, can I go to the mall with some friends? And she said no, because there was a kid who just passed away at the mall the other day. What she did not mention in that conversation was that the teenager passed away from choking on a corn dog in the food court. I had to convince her to let me go by promising that I wouldn't eat any corn dogs while I was there. Rest in peace to the corn dog kid though. That's a pretty sick way to go out. Do not make eye contact with people during a conversation. Because I just had a conversation with someone and I'm normally really bad at keeping eye contact, so I've been trying to get better at it. But during this conversation, I concentrated so hard on making eye contact with them that I completely forgot to listen to anything they said. So I looked super engaged because I was staring through their soul, but I didn't comprehend a word. But this was a big mistake because when the conversation was over, they said, so what do you think I should do? I said, about what? And they said, what I just told you about. So I had to admit to them that I didn't hear a word they said the whole time, so it's just not worth it to make eye contact. I can't focus on two things at once, and this is probably what I looked like anyway. Yeah, totally. Yeah. You know how when you were in school and your teacher was late to class, everyone thought that if they didn't show up within 15 minutes to class, you could leave? Or maybe that was just at my school, but one time this actually happened in my class, but I didn't know this rule was a thing. So after the 15 minutes passed, a kid told me about it, and for some reason, I just completely believed him, no question. So I left because I was really hungry. So I went to go get a snack from the store next to our school, but apparently this rule is completely false because I came back to school for my next class, and all of a sudden, someone walks into our class, whispers into the teacher's ear, and then the teacher goes, "Tyler, they need you in the office." So I go to the office, and that is when I received my first and only ever detention. But then the next day, I show up to the class where the teacher was late, and she was acting like it was my fault. She was like, "Tyler, I heard you ditched class yesterday." No, I didn't. You did. But yeah, don't try doing that. It's not true. Have you ever heard of someone's pet passing away in such a ridiculous way that you just could not believe it? Because I was just in New York last week, so I was taking the subway everywhere. And if you know anything about the subway there, it's crazy. And while I was on the subway, someone else got on with a pet bird on their shoulder. No cage, no nothing. It was just chilling on her shoulder. But then someone asked if the bird's wings were clipped or something, and she was like, "No, it's just really well trained and would never fly away." But then the subway stopped, and right as the doors opened, the bird flew out as fast as it could. But the door shut again before the girl could go out and chase it. And the next stop wasn't for another 2 miles. So it would have taken her like 20 minutes to get back to where the bird flew out. So I don't know if the bird actually passed away or not, but I'm pretty confident it did because this happened on a subway in New York. So there's a really strong chance that one of the 35-pound rats that look like they take Compound V ate it. Having siblings is crazy because you will do literally anything for them, but they'll also be your least favorite person on earth at the same time. Like when I was younger, I turned off my older brother's PlayStation mid-game because I wanted him to take me to my friend's house, and he got so mad that he started chasing me around the house. But then my mom saw him doing this and she made him stop. But in that moment, he told me that when I was least expecting it, he was gonna get revenge on me. So for the whole next year, I was living in fear, just waiting for the moment when he was gonna do something. I could barely sleep for a couple months because I thought that was when he was gonna make his move. But he never did make a move, which was almost more scary. But the funny thing is that during this same time period, I peed my pants at school one day, so people started to make fun of me and call me names. And it was pretty funny, to be honest, but I was super embarrassed, and my brother was the only person to stand up for me and tell everyone else to stop making fun of me. I'm not even kidding. It's like your siblings are Batman and Joker at the same time. Never change your phone number, because I had to recently, and on the very first day of having this number, I started getting a bunch of texts from a random group chat of people I don't know. But over time, I realized that this was a family group chat, and my new number must have been one of the family members' old number. But they didn't know that, so sometimes I would purposely start drama in the family group chat whenever I was bored. Like after about a week, I knew all of their names and I knew a little bit about each one of them. And one big thing that they would always text about in the group chat was their daughter Janessa, because Janessa was dating a boy that the rest of the family did not approve of. So one time the group chat was pretty dry, so I just decided to send a text and say, "Janessa, how could you not tell us that you got engaged?" And immediately after sending this, the whole group chat just went crazy. Like family members were calling, texting, leaving the group, and Janessa literally just replied in all caps saying, "That is not true." But since the family didn't like the guy already, I think they kind of believed that this was something Janessa would do, so they didn't believe her. So at this point, I kind of felt bad and felt like I took it too far, so I just decided to tell everyone that I am not the person they think I am. And right away, they just kicked me out of the group chat. I was low-key hurt though, because I kind of felt like I was becoming a member of the family. But Janessa, I hope there's no hard feelings. I wish the best for you and your boyfriend. Have you ever met a friend group where they all secretly don't like each other? Because when I first started going to a new school, I didn't know anyone there, so I was trying to make friends. And there was one kid in my class who invited me to hang out with him and his friend group at lunch, so I did. And they all seemed like they really enjoyed being around each other until I was alone with one of them, whose name was Anthony, and he was like, "Dude, Ryland's so annoying, isn't he?" And I was like, "Oh, I see what's going on here. This is a test to see if I'm worthy to be in the friend group." So I was like, "No, Ryland's cool." But then he was like, "No, he's not. None of us like Ryland." And I was like, damn, he's being serious. Poor Ryland. But then I had a class with one of the other people in the friend group whose name was Marcus. And he said, "I saw you hanging out with Anthony." And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "I feel bad for you." So I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because he's awful." "Why do you say that?" I asked. And he was like, "He snitched on me for cheating on my girlfriend." So I was like, "Why are any of you guys friends?" And he said Anthony's parents are rich and they have a really sick house. So they all secretly despised each other and none of them knew it, but the craziest part was that they were willing to tell strangers about it. That's how much they disliked each other, yet they would still hang out. Can't trust anyone. Having a brutally honest friend can either be the best experience ever or the worst experience ever. Because I have a friend like this, and one time he went to Europe, so we didn't see each other for a couple of months. And right when he got back, his mom and I picked him up from the airport, and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, "You gained some weight." Dog, you could have just said hello or something. But that's not even the most out-of-pocket thing he's done, because there was another time where I was telling him how I was feeling really sad lately. And in the middle of me confessing this to him, he goes,
Has anyone ever told you that you have really big pores? No, actually. No one has ever said that to me. Probably because that's not something you say out loud. It's like he can't stop himself from saying every single thought that comes into his mind. But this type of friend is important because he motivates me to be my best self, because if I'm not, I'm terrified of what he'll say.
Gen Z ruined my relationship with my parents because the other day I was leaving for a trip, so I wasn't gonna see my mom for a couple days. And I gave her a hug and I said, I love you, mommy. But I felt so gross after saying that word because of how Gen Z has changed the meaning of it. It's not a sweet way of saying mother anymore. No, it means some freaky stuff. But I don't even know if my mom is aware of the new meaning. So after I said that, I was just like, oh my gosh, I hope she didn't take that in the wrong way. But it's not just the word mommy. You can't say daddy either. What am I supposed to call my parents at this point? Should I just start going up to them and be like, what's up, gang? Like any other words that mean mom or dad have been ruined. I was in public when I said this too, and I could feel people giving me weird looks after saying it. Y'all act like you didn't call your mom mommy when you were a little kid. There should be nothing wrong with that word. Stop changing the meaning.
Does anyone else have a friend that's late to literally everything? And that's not even an exaggeration because my friend doesn't have his license. So anytime we want to do anything, I have to pick him up. So you would think since I'm doing this favor, he would always be ready to go on time. Right? Wrong, because whenever I leave my house, I text him saying that I'm on my way, and he'll respond right away. So then when I'm like 2 minutes away, I'll text him again saying that I'm here. But when I send that text saying that I've arrived, for some reason in his head, that's the signal for him to start getting ready. He doesn't even get out of bed until I send that text. So I literally have to wait outside of his house for at least 20 minutes before he's actually ready. But there's been times where I would have to wait a really long time, so I would FaceTime him, and he would literally be in the shower. Like, why didn't you do that before? Or another time I FaceTimed him after waiting a while, and he was heating up the stove to make chili. Bro, I've been waiting outside of your house for 2 hours. And you're revving up the fryers? At this point, I've just accepted it though, because you can't change him. You can't. Nobody talks about the difference between how parents treat the oldest child versus the youngest child. Because I'm the youngest one in my family, and my older brother would always tell me stories about how strict our parents were when he was growing up. Like if my brother tried to have a couple friends over at the house, they would say absolutely not. But while I was growing up, my parents would go on like a 2-day vacation and they leave me at the house alone, and my dad would literally be like, why don't you throw a party while we're gone? And I'd be like, what? I don't want to do that. And he would be like, yeah, do it. All the kids at school will think you're super cool. And then he would say, just don't bring over 200 people. Dad, I don't even know 200 people. Now that I think of it, he was probably begging me to do this because he thought that I had no friends. But that's not even the craziest part, because when I was growing up, if I wanted anything, my parents would get it. Like they bought me a car right when I got my license and I didn't even ask for it. And I know some people are gonna be like, oh, you're so privileged. I know, you're right, it's crazy. Because when my older brother got his license, he had to drive a 15-year-old car that had no air conditioning, the windows were broken, and one wheel would occasionally fall off. Did I deserve a new car more than my brother? No, I didn't deserve any of this. It was like my parents hit the lottery right before I started growing up and they just didn't tell anyone. This is why being the youngest child is the best.
Have you ever met someone that is obsessed with their ex? Like they try to hide it, but it's so painfully obvious, because I know someone that still follows his ex on all social media platforms, and every time she posts, he always says something about it. Like she has a new boyfriend, and when she posted him for the first time, my friend was like, oh, I feel so bad for that guy. He doesn't even know she's crazy yet. Like my brother, she doesn't even follow you anymore. She doesn't care about you. If she's so crazy, why do you still follow everything she does? But how I know for sure that he still likes her is that she posted a picture on her story of a song she was listening to by Ice Spice. And the next day, I'm in this man's car, and tell me why he starts playing Ice Spice. You might say, that might just be a coincidence. A lot of people listen to Ice Spice. No, this man only listens to country. And last time I checked, Ice Spice is not singing about tractors. So yes, this man is obsessed. And I've tried to tell him to let it go. Like I've literally been like, bro, she does not want you. Give it up. But he will not listen. Honestly, I feel bad for him. He's delusional.
Have you ever met siblings that you know would date each other if they could? Because one day at school, I met this new guy and he told me to add him on social media, so I did. And then I clicked through his profile to look at his pictures, and I see a photo of a girl sitting on his lap, so I'm thinking, oh, he didn't tell me that he has a girlfriend. So I looked at the picture again, but then I looked at the person who he tagged in it, and that was when I saw that she had the same last name as him. So that was when I realized, oh my gosh, that's his sister. That's gross. But you know what makes this crazy? I went onto her profile to see if she had any weird pictures of them together too. And then I see a picture of her hugging a guy. So I'm like, oh, yep, another freaky pic with her brother. But no, it was the one thing that could have been worse than that. It was her boyfriend. And he looked exactly like her brother. She was dating the guy because he reminded her of her brother. That confirmed it for me. They definitely want to date each other.
Why do people give babies such embarrassing names? Like, I think some people forget that these kids are stuck with these names for their whole lives. Because I was at the store the other day, and this little kid was trying to climb the shelves, and his mom goes, Danger, get down. You named your kid Danger. On purpose. I mean, I guess it's fitting because he's climbing the cereal aisle like a jungle gym, but still, was this like a punishment for him acting up one day? He just misbehaved and the belt wasn't working, so you were like, you know what, Steven? Your name's Danger now. And to the people that have ridiculous names like this, I am not laughing at you. I'm trying to fight for you. Like, these parents do realize that these kids have to go to school, right? And newsflash, little kids are mean. They will get cooked at school. I walked by a group of little kids the other day, and they literally just told me that my jacket sucked and laughed. I was just wearing a plain black jacket. But you think you can name your kid Flick and nothing will happen? This needs to stop. Never accept free samples from anywhere, because the other day I was at the mall and this girl comes up to me and says, "Sir, your face is very nice, but you have big bags under your eyes. Let me help. I have collagen cream for you." So I was like, "Oh, no thank you." But then she was like, "I give you free sample. Come. And I really didn't want to go with her, but I knew that she wouldn't just take no for an answer. So I had to think of an excuse as to why I couldn't use the cream. But for some reason, the first excuse that popped into my mind was to just be like, sorry, I can't use that. I have AIDS." And she just kind of stopped, looked at me for a second, and then was like, "That's okay. You can use this with AIDS." So I just ended up trying the sample, but the worst part is that 1, she thinks I have AIDS now, and 2, she practically forced me to buy this $200 collagen. She was like, "You took free sample, now you buy bottle. This thing better at least work, man."
ফাইনাল ডিসিশন লইছি আজকে রাতে কিন্তু আপনার লগে ঘুমাবো।
আমার লগে কেন বাজান? আপনি আমার লগে ঘুমাইবেন কেন?
জিন্দেগি তুই এইটা আর পোষাইতে পারবি না। বাজার তোর আমি সাজিয়ে দিতাছি তুই জলদি
ক্যাচে লাগাইছে।
মা তুই এক কাম কর, জামাই লইয়া শ্বশুর বাড়ি জাগা। বোন মা শ্বশুর
এই তো একেবারে বাঘের বাচ্চা।
ফুদি দে।
আচ্ছা বাঘের মতন যাবি?
আমি কইতাছি ওখানে খুইলা আসো, নালে আমি টাইনা ছিড়া ফেলামু কইলাম।
আমার খানদানি পোশাক তুমি টাইনা ছিঁড়া ফেলাইবা?
আমার ফোন দাও।
কোনি বাড়া আমারে কইছো বন্ধুর লগে কথা কও, তুমি তো এঞ্জেল সোনিয়ার লগে কথা কও কি?
তারপর বউরে দিয়া হাত পাটি পাইছে, এর বাদে বউরে কইছে পানি লয়ে আহো, বউ পানি লয়ে আইছে, এই পানি দিচ্ছে ফালায়া।
আম্মা আব্বা রুটি সুরত দেখছেন? রুটি এরকম তেরে বাগা খেলা, হ্যাঁ রুটি সুন্দর। আব্বা আমারে না হয় তুমি বুঝাইলা, তুমি তোমার খানদানের কি বুঝাইবা, আমার আত্মীয় স্বজনের কি বুঝাইবা?
আমি দুঃখিত।
বইয়ের হাতে মার খাওয়া চলে, তাই কিছু কই নাই কা।
আমাগোর খানদানে জামাই মারনের নিয়ম নাই কা।
তুই আমার এখান থেকে যাবি না মানে কি? অক্ষণ তুই বাইরে হবি।
আব্বা
কুইলজা কাপে না?
ওই বেটা ওই তোর কইলজা কাপে না মিছা কথা কইতে, হ্যাঁ? হারাম খোর জানি কোনখানকার।
মাগার মারামারিতে 1 নম্বর।
আমি পারি। এখন মনটা চাইতেছে তোমার কান্দের উপর চড়ায় একটা আসার মারি।
ঠিক আছে ভাইজান, আমার মুখ চুপ বন্ধ থাকবো, আর কেউ আমি কিছু কমু না, মুখে কষ্ট।
এখন লাইনে আইছস।
ওগো, কতদিন ধরে তোমার লগে আমি কথা কইতাছি, মাগার
কি করো নাইকা? হ্যাঁ আরো থেকে অনেক পর থেকে কি করতাছো? ফোনের ভিতরে হান্দায় রইছো।
আব্বা তো ও মা গো মা, আব্বা তো দেখি হেভি পাঙ্খ।
নিশ্চয়ই কোনো ভেজাল আছে। ওই দেখি কার লগে ফিল্ডিং মারতা।
কি আবার সকাল সকাল ঘুম ভালো হইছে, তোমার আব্বার লগে দেখা কইরা এলাম, হাইটটা গেছিলাম, এই ঘটনা।
তুমি রাগ করো না।
রাগ তো তুমি করবা, খারা খারা চা দাও।
আমি তো ভাবছি ডাকাত পড়ছে নি।
এই শাহজাহানগর বাড়িতে ডাকাত আইবো এমন কোন মায়ালাল পয়দা হইছে নি? তোমার বিছানা আমি ভিজায়া দিছি গা।
এটা তুমি কি করছো?
কি করছি, ঘুমাইবা না? তোমার পূর্বপুরুষের মাথায় কি সমস্যা ছিল আব্বা?
ওই নাটকের পর কয় কি শুনছো? ওই বেটা
আব্বা জান, আপনার পোলার এখন জিগান তো রুটি গরম না ঠান্ডা?
বাপ রে বাপ, শুনছো নি একেবারে ডর দেয় তো বলে কুচি কুচি করে কাটতো হইছে। আপনার ডর আপনার পকেটে থুয়া দেন।
খানদানটা আমার কত উচ্চা দেখতে হইব না?
দেখতেছি তো উঁচা ভি আর লম্বা ভি, কুচি কুচি করে না কাইটা ফেলাইছি আব্বা। আমার তো মনে করে যখন ডর দেখাইতে দেখাইতে আমি দেখেন আপনি কি করি। ওরে আইলাম না, এখন দেন না আসমানে ঠাড়াল্লাহ একেবারে কাঁপায়া দিমু।
আচ্ছা, আপনার
রুটি ঠান্ডা গেলা?
রুটি ঠান্ডা?
ঠান্ডা মানে আব্বা বরফের লাহান ঠান্ডা, এটা রুটি।
শ্বশুর আব্বা আপনারে আপ্যায়ন করে নাই, খাতির যত্ন করে নাই।
না আব্বা আমি
বিলাই মারার রাত আজকা। আজকা যদি তুই ঠিক মতো দামকে দিবার মানুষ বাইচে গেছিস গা, নালে বললাম সারা।
আর দোস্ত মাগো আছে, ওগো খানদান আর আমাগো খানদান এক না। অদ্ভুত কিছু নিয়ম কানুন পালন করতে যাইয়া তোমার বাড়ি।
তুমি কইতেছোটা কি? আমগোর খানদানের পোলা পাইন যদি একবার ঘর জামাই হয়ে যায় গা, ওরা তোর খানদানে ফেরত যাবার পারে না।
আমি আব্বা আমারে বুঝামো।
কি বুঝাইবে তুমি?
হয় নাই কা, তুমি আমারে বুঝাইতে পারতা, আমারে মারলা। ওসব আমগো বংশে
গাছকে এইসব হইতেছে। আব্বা আমি কই যাবো আব্বা, আপনি আমার প্যারা ড্যাডি আব্বা।
এই যে তুই আমার দাঁড়াবি না, দূরে থাক, দূরে থাক।
আমি খাটে ঘুমাইছিলাম, আমার লাথি মেরে খাটেতে হালায় ভাইজান লেটে লেটে সারে ঘুমাইছে।
হারামজাদা মিছে কথা কস্তুর।
বউ সেবা সুন্দর করে না করতে পারলে জামাই পিটানোর রেওয়াজও আছে। আই তুমি কুস্তি পারো?
না
জি ভাইজান, ভাবি ফালতু খানদানে কইলাম আজকে তো আপনার বাসো যাই।
ফাইনাল ডিসিশন লয়ে লইছি, আজকে রাতে কিন্তু আপনার লগেই ঘুমাবো।
আমার লগে কেন বাজান? আপনি আমার লগে ঘুমাইবেন কেন?
জিন্দেগি তুই এই ডার পোষাইতে পারবি না। বাজা তোর আমি সাজিয়ে দিতাছি, তুই জলদি।
ক্যাচে লাগাইছে।
মা তুই এক কাম কর, জামাই লইয়া শ্বশুর বাড়ি জাগা। ওর মা শ্বশুর
এই তো একেবারে বাঘের বাচ্চা।
ফুদি দে।
আচ্ছা বাঘের মতন যাবি?